Hello, I'm Tony Nichols and I'm the Federal Programs Director at Nicholas County Schools, and we'd like to thank SCTV and Chantel for broadcasting several of our video lessons for our students. We're hoping to reach out to students who might have issues with internet, and the upcoming sessions you're going to see are all about writing, handwriting, and also some creative writing. But I wanted to share with you some things about writing that might help you when you're working with your child at home. First of all, just like reading, we should do writing every day. Some type of writing every day. We also need to know that writing is very connected to reading. There's an old saying that if you can write it, then you can read it. When you're working with your child, you want to make sure that you teach them the proper pencil grip, and you want to support them, and you want to monitor them so that they're using an appropriate grip. Number 4 is very important. When students are learning to write their letters, they need to learn how to write the letter in steps, and they need to repeat those steps the same way every time they write the letter. Sometimes students have difficulty remembering where to start the letter or how to end the letter. But always watch your child when they're writing and make sure that they write the letter the same way each time. Number 5 is important. We get a lot of questions about that. Once a child's determined what their dominant hand is, make sure they use that hand. Don't encourage them or force them to switch from their non-dominant hand. Number 6 is also really important when you're working with your student at home or your child at home on writing. You want to make sure that the child is sitting beside of you, not across the table from you. If they're sitting across the table from you and you're writing, then they're going to see everything backwards. And sometimes you might wonder, why is my child writing backwards? Well, it may simply just be because they've observed you writing from across the table. Number 7, just to make writing really interesting, use multiple writing tools, use different kinds of writing paper. If you want actual handwriting paper, you can always download it from the internet. And also on your iPhones and your iPads, if you'll do an app search, there are all kinds of really nice apps for teaching kids how to write letters appropriately. And number 10, practice, practice, practice. So we hope these writing sessions will be very helpful to you while you're working with your child at home.
Hi everybody, I'm Miss Johnson and I work in Braxton County. I go all over the county to different schools and teach writing. It's my favorite thing to do. And we have a wonderful book to read today and a fun activity. I thought since it was storm season, you may have noticed some storms around your house. I thought I would read a really great book and do the activity about storms. Okay, and you need to get you a pencil and some paper so you can do the activity later on. Okay, so here's the book I'm reading. It's called Thunder Cake, and the author and the illustrator is Patricia Palaco. So she draws the pictures and writes the story. And it's a story about these characters. This character right here, this little girl, she's kind of afraid of storms. You might be afraid of storms too. And this is a true story about how her grandma helped her so that she's not afraid of storms anymore. So it's going to be a really good story. And you can see how Grandma is pointing up to the sky. Notice those clouds up there, and then there's some rain, and then there's the little girl, she's looking up, and the animals are looking up. Okay, before we start our story, let's do a See, Think, Wonder, and I'll bet that your teachers have done this with you. Okay, what I want you to do is look at the picture and then tell me exactly what you see in the picture. And then let's talk about, when we look at that, what do you think about it? And then what do you wonder? What questions do you have when you look at the picture? Okay, so let's do C first. Okay, what do you see when you first look at that picture? Yeah, that's what I thought. You saw the first thing I saw, that big lightning strike right there. So let's write lightning. What else do you see? And we talked about clouds earlier in the story. I see clouds too. And where does it take place? Where's our setting for this picture? Right, it's in a field. It's trees. So let's put field, trees. Okay, let's go to think. When you look at that picture, what does it make you think? Yeah, me too. I think that the lightning is coming right out of that cloud. So I'll put lightning. And notice that I'm not writing complete sentences, am I? I'm just note-taking. Lightning comes out of cloud. And then let's go to wonder. What kind of questions do you have when you look at that picture? I wonder if the clouds have something to do with that lightning strike and that storm. So let's put maybe the cloud has a job to do, and that helps the lightning strike. So I'll put cloud job. Okay. And before we read our story, let's take a look at two words that you might not be familiar with. And one word is horizon. And on the cover of our book, right here would be the horizon. That's kind of where the sky meets the ground. And surveyed, look, Grandma's surveying the storm. She's looking more closely at the storm. Okay, so now we get to read our story. And keep in mind that this is kind of based on a real story where Grandma helped the little girl get over her fear of lightning. So this kind of actually happened, and she built a story around it. I kind of call that realistic fiction. Grandma looked at the horizon, drew a deep breath, and said, "This is thunder cake baking weather, all right. Looks like the storm's coming to me." "Child, you come out from under that bed. It's only thunder you're hearing," Grandma said. The air was hot, heavy, and damp. A loud clap of thunder shook the house, rattled the windows, and made me grab her close. "Steady, child," she cooed. "Unless you let go of me, we won't be able to make a thunder cake today." "Thunder cake?" I stammered as I hugged her even closer. "Don't pay attention to that old thunder, except to see how close the storm is getting. When you see the lightning, start counting real slow. When you hear the thunder, stop counting. That number is how many miles away the storm is. Understand?" she asked. "We need to know how far away the storm is so we have time to make the cake and get it into the oven before the storm comes, or it won't be a real thunder cake." Her eyes surveyed the black clouds away off in the distance. Then she strode into the kitchen. Her warm hands pulled a thick book from the shelf above the wood stove. "Let's find that recipe, child," she crowed as she lovingly fingered the grease-stained pages to a creased spot. "Here it is, thunder cake." She carefully pinned the ingredients on a piece of notepaper. "Now, let's gather all the things we'll need," she exclaimed as she scurried toward the back door. We were by the barn door when a huge bolt of lightning flashed. I started counting, like Grandma told me to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The thunder roared. 10 miles. It's 10 miles away, Grandma said as she looked at the sky. About an hour away, I'd say. You'll have to hurry, child. Gather them eggs real careful like, she said. Eggs from mean old Nellie Peckhen. I was scared. I knew she would try to peck me. I'm here. She won't hurt you. Just go get them eggs, Grandma said softly. The lightning flashed again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I counted. 9 miles, Grandma reminded me. Milk was next. Milk from old Kick Cow. As Grandma milked her, Kick Cow turned and looked mean right at me. I was scared. She looked so big. Zip went the lightning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I counted. Ba-room went the thunder. 8 miles, child, Grandma croaked. Now we have got to get chocolate and sugar and flour from the dry shed. I was scared as we walked down the path from the farmhouse through tangleweed woods to the dry shed. Suddenly, the lightning slit the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I counted. Boom, ba-boom, crashed the thunder. It scared me a lot, but I kept walking with Grandma. Another jagged edge of lightning flashed as I crept into the dry shed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I counted. Crackle, crackle, boom, kaboom. The thunder bellowed. It was dark, and I was scared. I'm here, child, Grandma said softly from the doorway. Hurry now, we haven't got much time. We've got everything but the secret ingredient. I wonder what it is. Do you know what it is? 3 overripe tomatoes and some strawberries, Grandma whispered as she squinted at the list. I climbed up high on the trellis. The ground looked a long way down. I was scared. I'm here, child, she said. Her voice was steady and soft. You won't fall. I reached 3 luscious tomatoes while she picked strawberries. Lightning again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I counted. Kabang! Boom-a-room, the thunder growled. We hurried back to the house and the warm kitchen, and we measured the ingredients. I poured them into the mixing bowl while Grandma mixed. I churned butter for the frosting and melted chocolate. Finally, we poured the batter into the cake pans and put them into the oven together. Lightning lit the kitchen. I only counted to 3 and the thunder rumbled and crashed. 3 miles away, Grandma said, and the cake is in the oven. We made it. We have made a real thunder cake. As we waited for the cake, Grandma looked out the window for a long time. "Why, you aren't afraid of thunder. You're too brave," she said as she looked right at me. "I'm not brave, Grandma," I said. "I was under the bed, remember?" "But you got out from under it," she answered. "And you got eggs from mean old Nellie Peck Hen, and got milk from old Kick Cow, and you went through Tangleweed Woods to the dry shed and climbed the trellis in the barnyard. From where I sit, only a very brave person could have done all them things." I thought and thought as the storm rumbled closer. She was right. I was brave. "Brave people can't be afraid of a sound, child," she said, as we spread out the tablecloth and set the table. When we were done, we hurried into the kitchen to take the cake out of the oven. After the cake had cooked, we frosted it. Just then, the lightning flashed, and this time it lit up the whole sky. Even before the last flash had faded, the thunder rolled, boomed, crashed, and baroomed just above us. The storm was here. "Perfect," Grandma cooed, "just perfect." She beamed, and as she added the last strawberry to the glistening chocolate frosting on top of our thunder cake. As rain poured down on our roof, Grandma cut a wedge for each of us. She poured us a steaming cup of tea from the samovar. When the thunder roared above us so hard it shook the windows and rattled the dishes in the cupboards, we just smiled and ate our thunder cake. From that time on, I never feared the voice of thunder again. It's a nice story, wasn't it? So, if you are ever afraid of anything, you can go to your friends or go to your family, and they can help you through it. I have a lot of friends who help me through things too if I'm scared. Okay. You'll notice in our story, we talked about the rain coming down from the sky out of the clouds. Let's go in and find some text evidence and see if we can find some more rain and clouds. Oh, look. Right at the end of our book, there's the clouds. I guess they got too heavy with water and the clouds finally burst open and it rained. Okay, so what we get to do now is we are going to make a storm in a jar. And you might have these ingredients at home too. So let's go over here to the sink and I'll show you what kind of items that you need to make a storm in a jar. Okay, so we have a nice big jar, or you can use a big glass. And we have some foamy shaving cream, and we're going to use that as our clouds. And then I mixed up some water with 10 drops of food coloring. You can use any color, maybe a dark color. I'm going to use red today. So I've already put my 10 drops in. So now I'm going to fill my jar with water. And the water, that's going to be our atmosphere. Our atmosphere is what we have down here on Earth. We're in this atmosphere. And then here are our clouds. So And then I'll kind of take my finger and spread it out a little bit. I have a nice fluffy cloud there. And this is going to be our rain. And let's do a prediction. I want you to predict how many teaspoons do you think it'll take for me to put it on top of the cloud and make it rain. Our rain's going to make it heavy. It's going to be heavy, and it'll burst open through our cloud. Let's see. I'm going to guess. Let's see. I think it'll be 8 teaspoons. So you make a guess too. Okay, are you ready? Let's make it rain. 1. Oh, look, it already went through. Let's go ahead and put some more in. Yeah, it's already raining. That must have been, do you think maybe that was a smaller cloud? Predict what might happen if you have a bigger cloud. If we made our cloud this tall. Do you think it might take more rain? Here it goes. There's our rain. So you give it a try and do it with different heights of cloud and see how many teaspoons you use. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little writing lesson because we're scientists. We just did an experiment, didn't we? So we're scientists. And real scientists, they like to write about what they observed. So let's do that. Okay, so I have right here, I have a little sentence to help us get our noggins ready to write. I predicted, so let's think about what we predicted, how many spoonfuls over there. And my observations show. So after we did it, what did your observations show? What did you see? What happened? Okay, I predicted, now I said that there would be 8 spoonfuls before my cloud bursted. Okay, I predicted 8. Now I'm just note-taking right now. We'll write our real sentence in a moment. I predicted 8 teaspoons. Okay. Put a star so it'll stand out. My observations show, how many did it really take? Yeah, it only took 1. My observations show 1 teaspoon. Okay, so we have our notes. Now we can write this into a real sentence. Miss Johnson's paper is stuck. Okay, we can even use the first part of our notes to get us started, can't we? And what did I just start my first letter of my sentence with? Yes, we always have to remember when we're writing a sentence, we want to use a capital letter, don't we? I predicted I would use 8 teaspoons. Okay, let's see if maybe we could use this as just one sentence and then write another sentence. I predicted I would use 8 teaspoons. Oh, did you hear what my voice just did? My voice went down. That's my voice telling me, hey, I think this might be a good place for some punctuation. Let me say it again. I predicted I would use 8 teaspoons. Did you hear my voice go down? So let's put a period right there. Okay, are you ready for our next sentence? Start with a capital letter. Now, when you're coming to the end of a sentence or end of a paragraph, you can use the word conclusion. In conclusion, that means it's the end. In conclusion, I used 1 teaspoon. And while I was reading that, I heard my voice go down. Let's read it again. In conclusion, I used 1 teaspoon. Did you hear that? So that's a good place for punctuation, isn't it? Okay. Let's read both of our sentences. I predicted I would use 8 teaspoons. In conclusion, I used 1 teaspoon. Okay, so that was some good writing. We're good scientists, aren't we? In the back of our story, remember Grandma made a thunder cake? In the back of the book, it has a real recipe for thunder cake. And I brought a copy for you to look at in case you want to try to make a thunder cake with your parents. And you can practice your math skills, practice measuring. So take a look down here. Okay, that's the end of our activity, and I had a lot of fun today, so we'll see you next time. Bye.